Conferência de Imprensa com Dominik Hrbaty. Dominik, welcome to Portugal. Do you have good memories from our country?
Yeah, I played here a couple of times. I played a long time ago Australia Open, and now I've been 2 or 3 tournaments with my player here. Plus, I played a long time ago against Portugal Davis Cup in Slovakia, one of my first Davis Cups. And yeah, it's good memories. I had always some of the friends there here in Portugal and practice with players here. So yeah, I know Portuguese tennis and also the country is nice.
Okay, Dominik, exactly the first time I saw you play live was in Trnava at Davis Cup time. I remember Bernardo Mota telling me, "Oh, Dominik Hrbaty is the guy winning all the challenges." So you are on the cusp of going to the ATP Tour. So, what do you recall of that time? I remember a great match between Nuno Marques and your number one,
Kuchera.
Carol Kuchera, of course, 4 sets match. What do you recall of that specific tie, and how did your career go from there? First impressions on the main tour.
Yeah, I don't remember who I played there actually. In Trnava, I know we played in the ice hockey stadium. I remember that part. And that year I was still last year of junior, but I didn't play any juniors. I was already in August. I was top 100 in the world. And yeah, at that time I basically started to practice with Marian Vajda. He was my coach for 5 years. So we started the year before, and it was really fascinating journey that year. I mean, I cruised basically through the challenges so easy. Was so quick. I think from June until October, I played 4 finals and I won 2 challengers. And that was going like match after match. Probably that year I was one of the years I played the most matches in my career in a year. And was so confident, young, you know, it was going well. So Marian did give me some tips how to which I implemented in my tennis, which helped me really to improve, because I don't believe in the things that you can improve game wise or with the shot wise so great from, let's say, January when you start in 340 and suddenly end of the year after 10 months you are 77. It just doesn't mean that you made your forehand much better or serve much better or backhand much better. I just got mentally much more better, and basically I matured. I started to see the game. I started to analyze well. I started to, you know, see what the opponents are playing, what I need to play, how the game through the match is developing, when I need to add a little extra, when I need to be careful. I exactly knew what the opponent is gonna hit at which one, at least percentage-wise. I knew what is the chances where they're gonna hit. So I read in them like in a book, and I just cruise through them, especially on the challengers where the guys are all the time not capable to change their games or not capable to do other things they only learned. And then of course on the ATP it's a little different, because these guys are better, they see the game better, they can change the game, they can change the tactics. And yeah, then it took me about 1.5 years to get to top 20. And then I was basically all the way up until end of my career, almost all the time in the top 20.
So you reached a pretty good level quite early. So what do you think prevented you from going even further? Even though you boast a positive record against 2 of the best players of all time. So tell us a little bit about what you think you kind of missed, just not going even further. And then what were your references growing up in terms of, you know, idols that you had, or style of play that you wanted to follow?
I think a little bit the game I had was a little bit based on 2-3 shots, only forehand and backhand. Of course I had a good serve, but when I was young we had a school of Ivan Lendl, never coming almost to the net. We almost never played drop drop shots or stuff like that. I don't think it was that would make me not top 10. It was one part of it. Other part of it, even I was top 20, I still was top 20 based on my shots, not on have experience. So then when I was older, at age of 25, 26, I found a couple of things how to be better. I mean, like more matured. I could read the game even better. I could also I was getting more steady with my consistency of the game, of the results. I almost never lost after age of 26. I almost never lost any matches with the like underdogs or the players who were below me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there for a couple years. I believe that actually my game was getting at peak by age of 28 to 30, but then in 2006, when I was like 28, I got the inflammation of my elbow, and since then I was struggling. Of course, I was still until my surgery, till 2007 or end of 2007, I was still top 20, but I couldn't use some of the shots because it was too much pain. Like I had a problem with the serve, I had problems with the volleys. But yeah, maybe I missed 1 or 2 years to get to top 10, because there I exactly know what I'm doing. I exactly know what is my weaknesses, what is my strengths. Where at the younger age, I was more playing by feeling, by just
instinct.
And this was the huge probably difference. And also I realized when I was older, how to get back to the shots when something was not working. It took me just sometimes a couple minutes, sometimes 1 or 2 sessions of practice, where when I was younger it took me about 2-3 weeks to get back to the game. And this knowledge was so helpful to know myself, my game, how I do the things, and that changed. Yeah, but unfortunately I got surgery, and after surgery I never really come back. So, but still, I learned a lot. I mean, through the process of my career, there was different stages, and I always learned a lot about tennis, the game, the feelings, analyzing, seeing the game, and every part gave me different. So maybe if I would continue for 2-3 years, I could put it all together. But I'm not really sad about it. I mean, I did everything I could, and that's it. I mean, some of the things you cannot really change.
Sure. So tell us about those meetings with Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal, and then tell us about this generation, which is incredible. That includes also Novak Djokovic. So remind us what you felt while playing them and watching them grow as the biggest champions.
I think it started all with Roger. He was one of the first players who were like complex, all court with all the shots. When I started in '97, the guys had always some weakness in the matches. Some of them they had big problem with the backhand, with the serve, with the volley, or with something. Then come generation of Marat Safin and these guys, which they were starting to be very solid from baseline, from both shots, big serves. But they always played, deep to the baseline, like the old school. And then the come generation of Roger, that they started to use so much angles, using even better the court because of more spin, more forearm rotation. The tennis changed, where in '97 the tennis was with the most like old school with the elbow down, so when you play the shot. After with Roger, it started to go a little different. The balls started to cover the ball much more because of the elbow forearm rotation, and because of that they started to get angles. And these guys started to be so good, and basically why they are so good, it's still because they used part of the old school system, which now I don't say doesn't exist, but I think tennis it's a little bit about for 10 years from 2010 to 2020 kind of stagnate with the young generation, only seeing the shots what the Federer and Nadal playing, but they never saw the part how Roger and Rafa were practicing, how they had to go through so many hours, so many sessions. They go also with a lot of classical workout off the court and also on the court, where now at that period the players used to do only either gym or really trying to play these amazing shots, but they missed hours and hours of practice. And even Roger in some interview a long time ago said what changed his career was that Tony Rowe changed it, that he took him on the court and played with him 5-6 hours a day tennis, and he has to basically play it out to be great. He said that anyone who wants to be good or great has to hit that 1 million shots. I mean, it's 1 million shots. So it just through the things, and some of this young generation, they started to, because they saw only Nadal and Federer at the older age, where they already practice only maybe 2-3 hours. Of course, at the age of 30, you don't need to practice the same amount as age of 20. So they saw only that, and this was, I think, the problem, that this generation is kind of, for me, a lost generation, that they just didn't have enough of their tennis behind them, enough of the work, and that's why Roger and Rafa and Novak are still able to be there, because with the amount of tennis they played and the knowledge they have, this generation doesn't have potential to beat them. But now with the younger generation of Team, Tsitsipas, Medvedev, where they stay also again many hours on the court, it's big changing. So, but yeah, this generation of players who was there before had not enough tennis behind them, and that's why they are special, because it was combination of the new generation, old generation, and they just took kind of like a step ahead of everybody, and also when this new generation came, when you see these guys playing these amazing rallies, what they play on the tour, it just, the young generation wanted to do the same shots, but they don't understand the thinking of these guys, because the young generation wants to hit this amazing shot from amazing position and taking 100% risk, and which is obviously, if you take 50% or going for a great shot, just 50-50, always in your mind, or result is 50-50. But these guys, they don't go for great shots. They just go to get out of the tough position, to get back to the rally, back to the court, and try to play the best shot so they can continue in the rally. And this thinking, it just gives you a different perspective on the court, the different level of than the result of the rally. Because if I go to play a good shot, so I have to continue in the rally and to give the opponent tough time, then your chances of putting the ball there where you want is 80% and not 50-50. And this is the biggest difference that the guys saw on TV playing Roger and Rafa, and they wanted to do it, but it's just different thinking that they're using.
But can you pinpoint any situation from those matches that you play against Rafa or Federer, one day, so you can tell your kids or your grandkids that this happened in a match against Federer or against Rafa?
I know I had the tactics, like let's say why Novak is so successful against Rafa is because we play very similar game, and everybody basically is trying to, of course it's the game style we have, that we stay so close on the baseline, and we use our strength, our backhands to be very low, very flat.
Exactly.
And most of the guys, they try to play to Rafa's backhand, but why I would play to Rafa's backhand if his strongest shot is forehand inside in and inside out? So me and Novak, we had the same coach, Marian. We stay on the baseline and we try to play low angles to his forehand, get him out of the court, so he cannot use his forehand. He has it very low, he can only put it back. And then I use my forehand, or I step with my backhand down the line and try to get him in defense to his backhand where he's short, and he has to slice it or chip it. And then if he chips it bad, I make him run again to his forehand, or if he chips it okay, I keep him for one more rally, one more time in his backhand until he changes it to my backhand, and then again I will attack his back forehand with a low ball angle. And it's and that's why also I like to play against Rafa, because he basically couldn't really hurt me. And with Roger was a little different, where Roger you have to play fast, and if you give him time, he makes you run. So it's the same thing, but a little different. That you have to basically stay on the baseline, not to give him time, and you have to play with I cannot call it full risk, because then someone says you play risky tennis, but it's tennis with the full potential, and play as most close to the line as you can do with basically, I cannot even say 100% swing, but it's like 98% swing where you are still consistent, but you don't miss so much, and the chance of playing fast ball is still bigger than missing it.
Taking time away from the opponent.
Yes, and one funny thing that happened to me when I played, and that's also again analyzing of the game. I played Roger in 2005 in Cincinnati, where he had his winning streak. I don't know how many matches he had, and I lost the first set, and basically I had no chance. And then somehow it happens. I played pretty good, but then I played against the Sun, and at first or second game of the second set, I couldn't see nothing there, and I just pushed the second serve, and suddenly Roger started to miss his backhand return, because my serve had no power, it was only kick, very slow, and for one-hander the ball was floating so far, and I realized, like, why the hell I'm serving 200 if I just need to serve, if I need to serve only 120 and push it, and he has more problems than serving, and that's actually, when you look at it back, that's how Roger always beat Roddick, because he's so good with chipping it somewhere, but when Roger has to play his level from the one hand backhand from up there, of course he didn't miss, but the ball was so I had time, and I could always use my forehand to make him run on the other side of the court, and then it started to be, he was in defense, and I don't say Roger is bad in defense, of course he's good, but it's not his strength. His strength is when he makes the game, when he can make these angles, he can make these shots, and suddenly I was consistent. Of course, also we were good friends, and he knew me from past where we practiced so much that he didn't like to practice so much against me because I was so consistent. He had to work so hard for every point. So the combination of that, and I also know him, and we are good friends, and the knowledge I gained through the match, made me to beat him. So it's always in the toughest level. It's not only that if you know the data about your opponent, but how you can use this data. Because one thing is, many players knows the data, and after match tells you, yes, he was playing this and this, and he was weakness there. But then the question is, if you know it, why you didn't use it? So, and this is sometimes the toughest part, to use the data that you know in your advantage. And many players just either has the fear, or they're scared to use it, or sometimes they even they just so much stress that they cannot use it, and they play whatever they feel. And this is the thing. Like ask, let's say, for example, when I was speaking with Vajda, and when he lost the finals against Wawrinka in Roland Garros, where everybody says Wawrinka played amazing match, but in my opinion, Wawrinka played only as good as Djokovic allowed him to play. And I asked Vajda, because Marian came, I said, really? But why Novak was playing so much to his backhand? I mean, if you make to play the opponent's better shot, of course the opponent starts to play good, because you play to his good shot, he doesn't miss, he starts to believe in his game, and because he starts to believe in his game, in his shot, then what's happened? He starts to play also his weaker shot great. So basically you make him to play great. So if Novak would play smarter to his forehand, maybe more, and maybe some of the situations, maybe Wawrinka wouldn't get the touch for his backhand, and maybe if he doesn't get the so much touch for backhand, he's also stressed about his forehand, because he cannot make so many winners. So it's always combination of the data and things that you, through the match, has to go through your brain, and also combination if you are able to use it, because there is so much stress, so much adrenaline, and it's people, atmosphere, everything affects you, and you have to be really sharp with your thinking even in the most difficult situations. And I think that's why are the these guys are the greatest now still, because even in combination of stress, adrenaline, and also Roger has the stress, and also Nadal has the stress. They're also shitting their pants like everybody else, but they just can use the data and use their thinking when it's needed to play what they need to play, not what they want to play. And that's the biggest difference, that they play what they need to play to make opponent lose, and not what they would like to play. Because also there is many things I like to play, but you know, if I like to play there and there is opponent's better shot, I cannot use it.
So who's the best ever? Which is your verdict?
Best ever? I don't know. The best, tough to say. For me, I think Novak is going to be best ever. But charisma and style and watching is Roger by far the best. It's the player that you would, even in 20 years from now, you would like to watch and love to watch.
I mean, being influential.
Influential, but also on tennis court, it's just so beautiful to watch him. So beautiful. He's so elegant, so smooth, so beautiful. Also, the charisma he has, it's like he smiles, he shows the emotions, you know. Novak is more like for people like, I don't say like a machine, but even he likes to be nice, but it's Roger has something that he was born with.
Yeah.
But Novak is gonna be, in my opinion, the best in the history because of he's probably the strongest mentally ever player that played this game. Roger is maybe a little missing that he lost some of the Grand Slams from the match points, some of the matches. It doesn't mean that he's bad.
Of course.
He's still great, but it just Novak has that little extra that Roger doesn't have, and I think that's why Novak will have most Grand Slams, unless something happens. He already has the most weeks, number one. He has the most Master Series. He's the only player to have all the Master Series or all the greatest 14 tournaments.
Rafa is still there as well.
Yeah, but it's, you know, how can Rafa win on the hard court or, you know, on the grass against these players? It's he can win Roland Garros again, but this is already getting too fast for him and too tough for him. It's just different.
Statistically wise, do you think nowadays the players, especially the young ones, they play less statically? They try to put the strengths and their shots in terms of the tactic. I mean, they play more in their strengths, on their strength than the weakness of the opponents.
I think this generation of the young players are getting close to what is Novak playing, because I think now for most of them the Novak is the role model. You know, the players are forgetting quickly because you always try to keep up with the best at this moment. Roger didn't play for a long time. Rafa is not as he used to be. Of course, he's still great and winning on the clay, but generally on hardcore, if you see Novak more and more playing, these guys are more, you know, focusing on him, what he does, how he does, what he does so great. So they got influenced more with him, and so the game is changing a little bit to the old style of getting through the release, getting a lot of fitness, being also good with what you eat, using also devices and science to be better. So it's a little bit more influenced by the style. With Roger, everybody had feeling that, you know, this guy doesn't practice or because he's so talented, but it's not true. But it's just, you know, outside world, and by what he plays, you feel like it's one or two shots. But tennis is not like that. So yeah, that's what I was saying about the lost generation for me, the old generation that was like the guys like who are silly, like Fonini, and other guys who was at that time, you know, in 2010 there. But this young generation I like much more. They are much better, like Yannick Sinner. There is this Alcaraz. There is this other guys who are, you know, 19, 20 team, and this is more influenced by you know, game of Djokovic. So, and they're gonna get better and better. Eventually, now I see how many good juniors there are. 2002, 2003, 2004. You know, and it's different tennis now. These guys. So it's gonna be interesting who is gonna be there in a couple of years. But yeah, this generation has much more potential any generation between 93 to 2000 born. This generation was a little bit,
Tennis-wise, which one do you prefer to watch, and which one do you think will be better from the ones already there? Let's say in the top 100.
Tough to say. I mean, many of these guys are young. It's, you cannot say about Alcaraz if he's gonna be another Nadal. I mean, he's winning everything in challengers, but does he has potential to be number one? Does he has a game? Does he has a big serve? Does he has the legs? Does he has the shots? Because if you look at Djokovic or Tsitsipas or Thiem, these guys are still one level higher, but he's still so young. But there is also Sinner, which has a big potential. But can he be that consistent, match by match, tournament by tournament? There is a couple others. There is
Musetti, Lorenzo Musetti.
I like him also, but can he play well on the grass? This is the question. To be top in the world, he needs to be a player who can do everything everywhere these days. So there is players. They are still young. They still have potential to learn, and it just maybe 2-3 more years these players needs, and then they will profile by playing. Who by the time in 2-3 years they will probably, when they get confidence, when they get up there, they will start to be the ones, and it will show us who really has the potential to become next. Maybe it's gonna be after Sampras and before Federer, there was 3-4 years where the number ones were switching. I think there was about 6, maybe 8 number ones within the 2-3 years. Some of them for 1 week, like Rafter.
Yeah.
Some of them for 2-3 weeks, or 4 months, like Rios or these guys. So maybe there is going to be a period like that, but after a while, then for sure will come someone who will be good.
Okay, so speaking about that, if I'm not wrong, you are here with Jason.
Yeah.
So you won back-to-back on clay and then grass as a junior. How far do you see him going, and what can you tell us about him?
He made a huge progress. A little bit, last year we had very good start. Then COVID came. We haven't seen each other for almost 7 months. So it was a tough period. Always try to talk through some videos on WhatsApp. He was in Taiwan. I was Slovakia. So that kind of held us back. Now he came back. He made a huge progress in his game, because I think how he won the juniors was more like he was great runner, and I don't say pushing, he was playing fast for junior tennis, but juniors doesn't have a strength as men's. Many of the guys, they gain strength at 17, 18, 19, they started to go from serve of 160 to 210 or 170 to 220. And he made a huge progress in terms of also his serve, his game. Maybe now his progress is a little bit on the terms of ranking is stuck, but game-wise he made his game so much faster, so much better. He's much more aggressive. Sometimes he just, like against Gastao, he had a match that he had in his hands that didn't finish it. Some of the matches he still lose like that. But it just takes time. Again, tennis is the sport that is, toughest part is to take that you wish for everyone, or whoever you coach or your parent, you wish your kid to be, so good as soon as possible. And of course you push everyone, coaches, teams, to do the best results. But it just, some of those things you just cannot jump suddenly, it just doesn't go to jump suddenly from the ground from 30 centimeters to 2 meters. You just need to practice, give it a try again and again, and go progressively, and then suddenly it will click at certain point. But many people just, especially at a young age, doesn't understand it. So I'm happy that Jason is stay progressing, even maybe he hopes to be a little higher than he is, but his game is getting much better, and he just needs to wait and be patient to click everything together, and it will come. it will come. Hold on, Jason. I'm in the press conference room. Yeah, I'm in press conference room. Hold on, wait for me. So he just needs to take, and I believe in him still. He has a big potential to become top 100 and even higher. He just needs to find his own way. Sometimes, we need to find our own way how to convert these things and this progress to the matches and go through it. Sometimes you just need to win 1 or 2 matches. Sometimes happens something some match that influence your career so much. Everybody has that, and then suddenly you see the things, and then you put it together. So yeah, you just have to be patient and wait for the moment until it comes. It will come sooner or later. So for someone it's a bit later, for someone it's sooner. He's still 19. So yes, of course, I would like him already now top 100, but yeah, it's some of the things just doesn't work as you wish. You have to work on it, and then by getting even a little better, maybe it clicks, and then suddenly it is.
Okay.
How do you see yourself as a coach? It was easy to change from player to coach?
I don't know. It's tough. I always have to adjust my view and my thinking. When I was starting coaching, I was lucky that I got a good job. I think I was lucky. I mean, I was very happy that I got the job with the Turkish Tennis Federation. There I started with the guys, basically, with many of them they had very, very little knowledge of the tennis. They were juniors, young. And I learned also there so much because I had to really start from really scratch. The guys had 0 points. And I had to explain them how the tennis works, because my thinking was somewhere, at the top of the world, and suddenly you have to go to the players who we have to explain them why to go for physio, why to go for massage, why to do fitness, what kind of fitness, how you have to play, what you have to do. So you go really for the things that I know by age of 13, 14. So it gives me different perspective, and from there I started to see many of the things, and then I got to Klijan and Jason, where the tennis is a little different level, but I still have to. I don't know if it's me, but I just have to, or my thinking and my vision, that how I used to think, because many of the people think my tennis was only forehand and backhand and playing fast, but actually they don't see what was happening through my knowledge and what was happening through my brain. And I have to back up myself, to go always little less information than I'd like to tell, because then I can kill the player with so much information and knowledge. But it just, it's constant learning, and I also make some mistakes here and there, and I have to adjust my view of things that maybe my view doesn't have to be the other player view. So it's constant learning, like as I was a player and I was developing. I'm developing as a coach, and also have to adjust some of the things. And the toughest part probably as a coach is that you cannot coach as you want or as your view, but you have to coach what is the best for a player, and the best coaches are the ones that they think as the players think. And for that sometimes it's tough, because you have to really the player has to be open to you. It has to tell you the things, what he feels, how is he thinking, so you get to know your knowledge. You have to ask questions, you have to push him also, even to, maybe many players doesn't like this, but you have to push him to fight you, because when you fight, challenge you, when he fights you, then you basically telling two opinions, and by saying two opinions, when it's, I would say it's like when you fight with your wife, you say sometimes the things that you don't want to say, but you say it because that's what you feel. And then you realize, then you learn about the player, then you learn about him, because when he says it, when he's angry or when he challenges you, then he tells you the things that really he means. Mm-hmm. And when you are very calm and when you're answering, sometimes what the player is answering, what you want to hear, that's not right. So it's, coaching is fascinating. Of course, I would prefer to play the tennis, but since I cannot play tennis, it's for me, it makes, I love tennis so much, and it's part of my life. So this is something that I learned, and it's nice, and yeah, hopefully one day I will be able to bring someone to top 100. I don't know. Maybe in 20 years we can say if I was better coach than a player or if I was better player than a coach. So I cannot say.
You never had the chance to coach someone in the top 30, 20?
I mean, I was with Klijan where we started. He was 200. I mean, he was already older, but he was 200, and I brought him to, I don't know, 38, 35, back to 35. Then when I wanted to make him a next step, and when I wanted to make him, when I started to see, because when he come to the top 50 at that time when we were together, he had to play Master Series and Grand Slams, and suddenly at the Master Series and Grand Slams he stopped winning as much, and I was thinking why, and then I just realized that his tactical and analytical thinking through the matches is not right. Sometimes through the matches, like when he played against Gulbis, we set some tactics. He started to play the tactics, and then through the match, the Gulbis realized what he plays. He started to play better, and I had to tell Martin, change it. Play here. Of course, you cannot coach, but by the time, sometimes you can, everybody does it. You can tell what to do, and then he started to win again. And then Gulbis again in the second set started to know what he played, and then he changed it, and I said, Martin, change it. And after match I asked him like, why I had to tell you why you see. But we set up the tactics, so I played it. I said, okay, if you set up the tactics, the football coach says, okay, there is a weakness on the right side of the field and the wing goes, you think they go 90 minutes through the wing? No, sometimes they go left side, sometimes they attack through the middle. Of course they push more from the right, then they defend, so they kind of get calm, the opponent. So you have to also change it, and just didn't see it. And then I started to teach him this analytical thinking, changing tactics. There are some sessions you can use and some of the exercises you can use to be better. And then in the end, after 2 months or 3 months, he just said it's too tough for him. He says he has no capacity for it, and also it includes analyzing the practices after end of the day, and he said after it's 5 o'clock done or 6 o'clock, I just want to have time for myself. I'm too old for it. And I just want to be, for me it's enough to be 60. This is too tough for me. So there is, also things that players maybe has no capacity or they are not willing to do, and suddenly, they reach their limit. So this is maybe answer to you. And also for me, of course, I had offers to coach also players who are up there, but for me, it's something that for me the good coach is not the coach who can keep someone who is top 20, but for me the coaches are great coaches who can bring the junior somewhere to the top, because this is the most toughest part. If I would get probably someone who is 20, 30 and work with him, we would be same level of thinking probably. It would be easy for me. But for me as a person, it's the most challenging thing is to bring someone like Vajda